Welcome back to HQ Spotlight. It is a tight race at the top of Group F as we approach the final game of group play in the World Cup. Can you believe it? The Netherlands and Japan both sharing the lead with 4 points apiece and 4 goals each. So it's going to get kind of interesting in terms of who wins the group with goal differential. But in the meantime, Sweden at this point hoping for at least a shot at third place advancement as it stands right now. They're going to take on Japan Friday, 7 o'clock Eastern after losing to the Dutch 5-1 last week. We've got our Jimmy Conrad, Team USA's good luck charm, might I add. So I hope you're keeping that outfit fresh as we get ready for Team USA
Always.
later this week. But in the meantime, Jimmy, we're going to talk about Group F and what's at stake as we come to the conclusion of group play. It's been such a fun World Cup so far. Maybe not so much if you're Sweden, though. And I want to give you your flowers because you came on HQ and you gave us a preview about what to expect for Sweden, and you told us exactly what was going to happen. We're going to have some smoke and mirrors in that first game against Tunisia, and then they'll hit some trouble against Netherlands. So talk to me about what's next for Sweden and how they get to that round of 32.
Yeah, this Sweden team is tricky, Haley, and we've seen both versions of them. We saw them when they get the opportunity, when they get some momentum. It feels like they're running downhill, and they scored a bunch of goals. Arguably against maybe one of the worst teams in the tournament in Tunisia, who fired their coach after the first game. I mean, that's how much turmoil they're currently in. They're going to get dunked on by the Dutch, so I think the Dutch are going to end up winning this group on goal difference. Whereas with Sweden, I do think they can be competitive against Japan. They have the firepower. They've got 2 of the best strikers in the world, arguably maybe the dynamic duo of this tournament in Victor Gyökeres, who plays for Arsenal, and you have Alexander Isak, who played for Newcastle but then moved to Liverpool. And these 2 guys are lights out, and they've actually formed a nice partnership. They get a lot of chances on goal, and this is kind of my key to the match for them. They just got to make sure these guys are getting opportunities. Japan has been very resolute defensively, so I don't think there's going to be a lot of space, but can they make that happen? They had Anthony Elanga come off the bench, and he plays at Newcastle right now. He scored a good goal against the Dutch to make that one 5-1. Somewhat respectable, I guess, but he's another threat that can help them as well. Will they utilize all 3 of them at the same time? We haven't seen it too much. So I'm kind of curious to see what their manager, Graham Potter, does. On the defensive side, listen, they've been embarrassing, Haley. They've given up goals in 13 straight games in all competitions. And even they let Tunisia score, and Tunisia's not very good, as I mentioned before. And they got dunked on against the Dutch. They gave up 5 goals, and everything was just too easy. It was just too much space. They play with the back 3, and it looks like they actually really just play with the back 3. Nobody else is helping out. Those guys are scrambling, and Japan are just going to systematically pick them apart. So they have to be really tight defensively. And then the last thing I would add, kind of on the intangible side for Sweden, is they got to be a goldfish. They got to just have a short-term memory and just forget that the Dutch game even happened. Lean back into the positivity they felt after beating Tunisia 5-1. And then hope for the best, because they got to keep this game close, as you mentioned. Even if they lose, they still have an outside chance of making it in as a third-place team because they did have that 3 points. But their goal difference right now is 0, so they got to try to keep it there as close as possible. Obviously, a draw will get them into the next round. But even if they lose, just keep it to -1, or that would be a nice spot for them to be in, and hopefully they can get in. They're not very good, so even if they get to the round of 32, I don't think they're going to last very long. This is me probably being a little bit too harsh on Sweden. They might surprise me, but I don't think that they will.
Listen, I gave you your flowers for a reason because I mentioned it. You said that they were going to come out and be impressive and score some impressive goals. You like to think with that front 2 of Gyökeres and Alexander Isak that they can be impressive, but who knows? Also, producer James just reminded me that today is in fact Wednesday and not Thursday. I've been operating all day as if it's Thursday. So this game is actually on Thursday. It is not on Friday, so that is my bad. Shout out to producer James. Okay, so you laid out the lay of land there for us, Sweden's keys to victory. How about Japan? And Jimmy, I want to share this story that I found about Japan's team, so bear with me. It's a little long, but I promise it's going to make you smile. So there was a 14-year-old boy who had a chance to meet with the team at training camp at their base camp in Nashville before the tournament began. And he stood up in front of the team after a training session, and he read just the most powerful speech. It read in part, quote, "When we face obstacles while studying and finding living away from home, from our home country rather, the way you compete gives us the courage to never give up no matter what." And that message is what's inspiring this Japan team. The manager has hung that message in the dining room, so obviously it's a reminder to this team. I say all of that to say that this is a proud Japan people, and I know that the chips and salsa bottomless storyline has been what's stolen the fire there, but for this team, there's a good opportunity to win and make their country proud.
No, there's no question. I really like this Japan team a lot, and I think they are going to be a threat when the knockout rounds begin. They've already demonstrated that in their first game against the Dutch. They were down twice in that game and came back and leveled it up. So they've got a little bite to them. And I love that story in particular because they are missing 4 of arguably their best players. Minamino, who plays for Monaco in France, he's out. Their captain Endo, who plays for Liverpool, he's out. Take Kubo, who's one of their best attacking players, got hurt in the first 45 minutes against the Dutch. He's out for the rest of the tournament. They're missing some really, really key players that have been driving them and really been the core of their team. So without those 3 or 4 players, you would think that some teams would be lost, but it's just allowed other players to step up and play. And so kind of my 3 keys for them are don't stop moving on the attacking side of the ball because their movement off with the ball, without the ball has been tremendous. They actually, honestly, Haley, I'll be honest, you know, the Dutch are famous for playing, you know, a certain style, Johan Cruyff and this tiki-taka type style of all this type of fluidity and movement. And I actually think Japan played more like the Dutch's philosophy than the Dutch did in that particular game. So it's just kind of a credit to them and how they've evolved. And if they continue to do that, they're going to be really hard to stop. On the defensive side, don't stop fighting. I think one of the knocks on Japan is they were always technical. They understood how to play the game, but physically they can never match up to everybody. And listen, they've been kicking ass and taking names this tournament, and if they continue to do that, they're going to have a nice long run. So they just got to continue to have that mentality. And then the last one is don't stop believing. Those are the intangibles, right? So despite the injuries to these 4 key players that I mentioned, they really haven't missed a beat. And every player that has stepped up and played well. And if they can keep that togetherness and whoever steps up, and if you come on as a sub or if you start a game, you put in a good effort, I really like this Japan team a lot, and I think they could surprise some people.
I really like that you went with the journey, don't stop believing kind of theme there for Japan's keys to victory. All right, now that we've all established and we are all on the same page that this game kicks off on Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, I need a game prediction from you, Jimmy. Who wins?
Yeah, I think Sweden will give you a little bit of a last gasp of desperation, even though they could still go through with a loss. There's going to be a little bit of backbone to them, or at least I assume there's going to be, given that this is a World Cup and the stakes are a little bit higher. So I'm going to give them a goal. I think that Gyökeres or Alexander Isak will score, but ultimately Japan's quality in every line of the field is going to show through. So I got 2-1 to Japan, maybe even 3-1, but I'll keep it close for Sweden.
Okay, Emily's HQ team is Sweden, so I know that she's shaking her head hearing you say that. So for her sake, I'm hoping for a different outcome, but for like my soccer sicko sake, I kind of am with you. I'm leaning on Japan there.
Sorry, Emily.
So Jimmy, good to see you. Can't wait to see that Team USA game outfit back out in full force for the Americans as they wrap up group play against Turkey later this week. You can find Jimmy Conrad hanging out over on the Golazo Network. Their coverage of the 48 nations has been tremendous to this point. You also will see Mackenzie Brooks, our betting analyst. She is spreading her wings and has become a soccer girly for us. So check them out over on the Golazo Network. And while you're there, if you want to learn more about Team USA, there's so many great documentaries on Paramount Plus right now. Multiple eras, one passion. You can trace the evolution of U.S. soccer from the very beginning with the U.S. men's soccer trilogy and stream every era exclusively on Paramount Plus.